person that's asymptomatic, who's not coughing or sneezing or anything like that, they wouldn't be infectious, right?
They can still be. And this is the reason why it's so important for us to all be considering others, especially when it comes to doing things like wearing face masks, etc., is because people who don't have symptoms can still be spreading this infection.
So if my friend forgot her mask, I shouldn't lend mine to her, for example?
Absolutely not. Sharing of masks is absolutely not a thing that we should be doing.
Even if I look like I don't have it, I may not know.
Correct. So you may not realize or know that you actually are actively shedding this virus. And so in particular when it comes to things like how do people with no symptoms, if we know that the virus is being spread by coughing and sneezing and then those droplets landing on surfaces and people touching them and touching their eyes, nose and mouth, then the question becomes, well, how do people with no symptoms spread this infection? The answer is people with no symptoms who are positive for COVID-19 are still shedding virus into their mucous membranes, via their mucous membranes. So even, for example, when you're talking, you may be spreading droplets into the environment, which can then also be contagious to the next person.
Oh wow, okay. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I feel like I've made that mistake in the past. So how would you say the best way would be to protect yourself from this virus?
So if we think about how the virus spreads, it spreads when people come into close contact with each other. We mentioned droplet infection. We also mentioned touching surfaces with unwashed hands and then touching your eyes, nose and mouth, right? So just by understanding how this virus spreads from person to person gives us a bit of an understanding about what we can do to avoid that. And so we know that we've been told to keep our distance from others because of that droplets infection that comes out. Aside from that, making sure that we're wearing a mask is very important because when we wear a mask, we are catching those droplets that would have been otherwise spraying into the environment.
So if I talk to you, it can almost, even if I'm not symptomatic, I can still spread it if I'm too close.
Correct. And that's the danger with coming into close contact with people, especially people who are ill. But then again, as we mentioned, some people have no symptoms, but they're still spreading the infection. So keeping physical distance is very important. Aside from that, wearing a mask. So everybody should be wearing a mask to protect other people. You're really not wearing your mask to protect you.
No.
You're wearing your mask to protect others. And then aside from that, washing your hands is very important. It's one of the most simple public health measures that can be taken, but it's one of the most powerful. So we really need to be washing our hands.